everybody. Welcome to the Distill Buildings Technology Podcast.
Where smart buildings are shaken, stirred, and data driven.
Awesome. I'm Jason Shearer, your host.
I'm your host, AK.
And with us today, we have Erin. Erin, welcome to the Distill Buildings Tech Podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me, guys. It's good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you sent us over a bio, and I was really, really impressed, like reading through it. But tell us like a little bit about yourself, what got you to where you are in your multi CEO career today.
Sure. I started my career as an interior designer out of college, and I spent a couple years in that field, and then moved over to lighting.
Mm-hmm.
I had an interest in lighting and electricity and how things went together. And I sold lighting for about 18 years. And, obviously things grew in the lighting field, and we took on controls. And after a while, you just kind of learn how to talk to things and get them to talk back to you. And we wanted to take control of that conversation a little bit, because we were having trouble controlling some things on job sites that we were working on. And it just kind of expanded from there. We started, I took on my role as the CEO for the lighting representative that I now own. But it's been kind of a long road. We've, moved to writing software, and we expanded to everything digital buildings. So we have a group in the field that commissions digital buildings, and we design them from the very beginning. So we've been involved in a lot of different things. I have a particular interest in health and wellness and alignment with nature. I've had just my own personal role as a mom, kind of navigating some difficult health problems with my daughter, led me to a 14-year journey of really coming to understand genetic and neuroinflammatory disorders and
Mm-hmm.
how our environments affect our brains. So for me, I have my passion is health, wellness, and alignment. But yeah, you need infrastructure to do that. So all is pretty much what I love. Anything
Awesome.
That's
smart
fascinating.
buildings. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. And Erin, tell us, how do you take that to your work? And I have been into your office, and I've seen the metrics that you put together, even some of the facts and stats that you pulled out of the office, and even pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. Maybe you could share some of that. I was fascinated when I heard all that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, we, during at the start of the pandemic, I asked, anyone who was willing to share their data if they would get Aura rings, and we could start watching our health. And at the time, we had already outfitted our building as a smart building, so we were monitoring and metering the space. So I knew I had the opportunity at that time, because I don't think I would ever get a 0, 0. I would like a point of access or reference without any
Mm-hmm.
people in the space again. So we got to monitor the space for a good 6 months with nobody in it, to really understand what the environment was without people. So when we came back, we could apply those metrics to people, so we could understand how much CO2 a single person brought into a space, and how your space clears CO2, and what effects it has on people.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got back to the office, our health plummeted. And it was pretty fascinating, and also pretty scary. And we were also trying to mitigate COVID outbreaks. So We had 2 COVID outbreaks, and we were able to trace it down to the day of the outbreak and really understand what was going on in the air at that time,
Hmm.
so that we could mitigate the outbreaks as a result. And also, I have an interest in, I just don't want to get the flu. I don't want I don't want to have to go through Januaries and Februaries and where everybody is out with the flu and giving each other viruses, and that had been happening over the years, and it was really frustrating to me. So we've been doing research for the last 5 years, and we think we have it kind of dialed in on what kind of metrics you can gather from your air quality to keep it, to keep everybody healthy and safe.
Hmm.
And we've come up with a lot of different things. Um, so yeah, we're having fun with that, and we it really kind of comes down to the density of space,
Hmm.
and we need to de-densify our real estate quite a bit. So we have a lot of companies who are offloading a lot of real estate, and then what they're not realizing or really understanding that in order to keep people healthy in those spaces and to keep them more sustainable, so that we don't have to go home during the pandemics again,
Hmm.
um, is to de-densify. Um, yeah.
That's fascinating because that's almost contrary to like what, like you said, like what we're seeing in the market today, to where a lot of companies are going through real estate compression versus de-densification. How do you, have you gotten to where you can quantify the economic value of keeping people like healthy and safe in the environment?
Yeah, I mean, like, it takes a year to
Hmm.
really prove any results. But once we wrote a little CO2 mitigation into our elevated software. So if it detects high CO2 levels, it'll start turning your air, because you can't open the windows in a lot of buildings. So we turn our air more. And our insurance rates the next year were down about $130,000 for my company, which was significant because we have 55 employees.
Hmm.
And because there were 40% fewer claims on our insurance. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting study. We want to see that over and over and over again too. And we're only about a year and a half into that.
Hmm.
But it's to me, people are healthier, and I think that's really important. But also, really, we tune with their circadian rhythms, and we were tuning to match the sun all day.
Hmm.
And we were realizing that from a neurological aspect, it was like sometimes triggering migraines in people. Like, that wasn't something that you should probably do. Like, you have to really kind of change your environments. People get a little bit more stressed under 4,000 Kelvin lights, where they say productivity is really important. Um, People get stressed under those circumstances, and we decided that we're kind of working with the idea that turning down the lights will allow our employees to be more critical thinkers,
Hmm.
because their stress and their cortisol will be lowered, and they'll be able to reach their prefrontal cortex for more analytical thinking, which is in our best interest. So driving productivity with like 4,000 Kelvin lights is probably
Hmm.
not the ideal thing to do anymore. I think we've got it. So what I'm saying is, we got it all wrong.
Hmm.
We need to spread out. We need to chill out a little bit, and we need to provide better spaces for our employees if we want to get them back to work.
That's fascinating, and that's something that we, as we know, we struggle with, right? So we show the value of smart building, and then where you have proven that not only having the tools help, but having that feedback, it's even better because you can actually dial in and see what actually works and what doesn't.
It's true. I mean, you can, and then you put that data into your data lake, and you can extract lots of things from that. So I know if we're at 60 decibels on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, we're probably going to have a good week. It's like I'm tuned into the amount of decibels and what it sounds like on my sales floor when we're
Hmm.
having a good collaborative week and when we're not. So that's interesting to me too. So it's another metric, and I'm a CEO, and I look at it from that perspective, and we just built our system, and for us, we've been trying to prove that if you kind of dial in on the people and the technology and connecting those two, that there's a return on that investment. Um, and those returns are, what's the best word? Because it's distilled, so I've had
Hmm.
a little. What's the best word? They're indirect,
Uh-huh.
but they're very lucrative.
Well, I mean, it sounds like some of them are indirect, Aaron, but like I think we always struggle when we think about, well certifications and some of these frameworks that are out there to like quantify the value of number one, putting in all of those, those controls and metrics, but then like going through the process of certification. What does that actually get the customer from, from a bottom line perspective? And just hearing the story of $140,000 of direct insurance premium avoidance, like that's massive. Like that's a direct cost. But then if you start looking at all of those other indirect savings, like productivity or collaboration, it seems like it's just upside from there.
It is. It's really interesting. Like they measure the sound of they measure the decibels of the rainforest to understand the health of it. And you could probably
Hmm.
that I love the idea of really understanding how busy my hive is in a sense. And whether that's your property manager, or a developer, or who's coming in my building, where are they going, those metrics are really important and can turn into some really lucrative decisions that can
Hmm.
come from that. It's the difference between, do you put a Starbucks or a Brooks Brother in
Hmm.
your first floor? So I mean, I think there's real there's a real return on that. But obviously, you need the infrastructure to be able to handle that too.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as the audience know us, obviously the podcast starts with a typical drink. Here goes ours. So what's in
Yeah.
your cup,
I
Aaron?
I have a vodka lemonade in my cup, only because I only had lemonade in my house. So
Love it, Jason. What about you?
So I made a vodka soda with limes, and I think it's just a good. It is. I live in the southeast, and it was 90 degrees today and 85% humidity. So it's just a really good, like, refreshing summer drink.
Yep. Yeah. Typical fever tree
Yep.
vodka. Rocking it with the brand. And
Yep.
a hot day like this, you're right. It is just a vodka soda type of day.
Yep.
it is. It
Definitely.
is. Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. So one as you were talking through like all of the the metrics in the environment and some of the direct cost benefits or cost savings, does this typically help us like upsell into a customer's environment from non-tunable to tunable lights, or kind of bringing some of those premium features around technology into a customer space?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it does. I think that well, first of all, if we would have um, had the infrastructure before COVID, we would
Hmm.
not have had to go home.
Yep.
And I do think that it took me a long time to prove tunable a return on investment. Actually, it took me until this year,
Hmm.
until I figured out I could calm people with it rather than keep them productive. And then when I tuned into that and people were a lot calmer, there was, there was some, because there were a lot of, it just seemed like a heightened moment.
Hmm.
And I think this was literally around the election time when I just wanted everybody to calm and
Yeah.
not have too much conversation, and it seemed to work. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. But it also produced, some more critical thinking, and I really love that. And really tuning into, or biohacking, if you will, when it comes to having the healthiest workforce. I think that's a really cool thing to be able to do,
Hmm.
but also save energy at the same time, and all of the other things.
Yeah, I think when it comes to smart buildings and the journey, who do you think, Aaron, is the persona? Is it the CIOs of the world? Is it the facility managers of the world? What's who's that buy-in? Who's that buyer from your perspective?
Yeah, I think it's the CIOs and the CEOs from my perspective. That's what I designed it to be, and I really like that Steve Jobs designed for him, and I designed for me. And I was at home trying to solve a problem in 2020. I was like, okay, I can't see my people. And I just spent a lot of money on my real estate, and there's nobody there, and I can't see it, and I don't know what's going on with it, and I don't have a remote control for it.
Hmm.
And then I'd like to quantify what it's generating for my business. And because we have a showroom, and I want to know how many people come in, and I want to know how much our business it has increased since we opened that showroom.
Hmm.
And we've been able to quantify that. So I don't even remember what the question was,
Yeah,
but
no, the buy-in
yeah,
persona, and I think you
yeah,
you answer it really well. That this is what we're
yeah,
seeing. You're talking about enterprise Fortune 500. Their goal is they had this massive real estate. Now, what do you do with it? If you can't
yeah.
touch it, feel it, quantify it, and digitize it, how do you know what the next one should look like? Is it more of just to pick a location and make the best bar tab and hope for the best, or is it really understanding where people live and want to be? And how they behaving throughout your space. And I think that's what a smart building brings forward.
Yeah, it's like making it the engine of your business, which is so true. It's a vehicle for your brand. And it can be an engine. It can generate, or it can take from you. And
Hmm.
and with smart infrastructure, you can get it to generate income for you, in many, many different ways. It depends on how creative you want to get. If you want to start harnessing energy from the sun and selling it to other buildings, there's always, there's a million different ways you can capture commerce from your smart building, which is really important.
Yeah.
Take us a little bit through your journey of building it. What was some of the difficulties you faced while implementing your smart building or smart
Well,
infrastructure?
I think the first one was software. We didn't really have a cohesive software, one pane of glass, which everybody seems to have a problem with. So we built our own. API integrations, which just suck. I look
Hmm.
forward to the day when that becomes an AI driven super connection that we don't have to deal with anymore. But software was our first foray into it. We started with Enlighted, actually.
Hmm.
We put their software, their sensors and software in our space, and we started to heat map and track. And then we started to put thermostats, and we just started connecting everything, cameras, everything. And I sat with it for a long time, just looking at it like, where's the value? How do I sell this? Is there value? I love it. I love seeing who's in my office when. I love seeing who's going to be booked in my office for the day. So I can decide whether I'm going to come in or I stay home. It's great for collaboration. But we just kept on building it and working with, all of the data. And as ChatGPT got smarter and smarter, we could really start to feed our data, and we got a little bit more savvy with our data uh, on our back end. So it with our company as we grew. So it's just been an interesting foray into that, and we're not done. I mean, everybody's racing to AI, and so are we. And we hope to have full automation, AI automation by next year. So a year later than I wanted it, but yeah,
Yeah. And nothing in technology ever happens as fast as we want. It
I
seems.
know.
Um, what did you find was, so you talked about like integrations and, and APIs. What was something that was like surprising as you were going through that you didn't really expect to have a tangible like connection?
I was most surprised by air quality, honestly, and I think
Hmm.
it's one of the most interesting things. Um, I think it adds a dimension and also sound. Something that's interesting to me is really understanding not in decibels sound and what that
Hmm.
means. Um, and whether you're scaling it from a building to a city,
Hmm.
I think sound means something, and it's a dimensionally gives you uh, more data than I know what to do with right now. I think
Yeah.
that'll come to us in time, but I think we're missing dimensions in our data
Hmm.
in smart buildings, and I think the sensors are getting better and better, and I'm excited for the future of that.
Yeah, the three things that I wrote down, Aaron, that were fascinating, from an employee experience and productivity, were like you mentioned, decibel level. So like the audio or the sound levels within a space, CO2, and then probably like other gases, right? Like we can measure formaldehyde and TVOC, but CO2 seems to be the one that's the most impacting for for cognitive, and then the third was like color temperature. And I haven't heard of like I'm kind of like drawing out like like either a Venn diagram with three circles or like a triangle, and like how all three of those have are connected and can have impact if they're dialed up or dialed down to the right levels.
Hmm.
But
It's
they're
true.
yeah.
We looked for CO2 levels because we got sleepy in the
Hmm.
afternoons, and we didn't understand, and we've kind of all been uh, it's been interesting because we're all made to believe it's because the carbs we ate for lunch, but really it's the CO2 sitting in the room.
It's all the airbags that have been in
Yeah.
the office like for 6 hours, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because if you really understand how CO2 moves through the room, it just sits like a blob, and it doesn't, you
Mhm.
almost, and I was like, okay, so why don't we have this problem outside?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I guess we have wind. So I'm like,
Mhm.
well, can't we make wind? Like, we'll just have to make more wind. So we started to turn the air a lot hot, and our HVAC guy is not happy with us because they're like, oh, you're going to blow the engine. I'm like, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
we were losing cognitive function at 800 parts per million, and the average
Mhm.
classroom in America is somewhere around 1,200 parts per million, which is unreal.
Yeah.
And has a potential to cause neuroinflammatory effects. So at that point, if we're just at 800 parts per million, we were losing cognitive function, meaning we were getting sleepy,
Mhm.
or you could see it every single time we got to 800 parts per million. You can see the decibels crest and drop, and
Just because
that's
people stop talking or
they
talking as
stopped
loudly or
talking.
engaging.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
That's
stopped
that's
engaging.
that's fascinating. The correlation between
Yeah.
CO2 and decibel levels, and see, and you mentioned like education, K-12 space.
Mhm.
Like, are there programs out there to to help, fund abatement of CO2 like in classrooms?
There's air quality
Yeah.
grants
Yeah.
available. Yes, there are. And so I think that, the schools can capitalize on that
Hmm.
if they so choose. But I think that it's not enough to just put air quality sensors in their
Hmm.
classrooms. You really need the infrastructure to be able to support, mitigation of that.
I feel like if every building would whisper every morning and say, "Just get the CO2 out of here."
Yeah.
It just it's I agree. It's one of the things that's probably causing most of its comfort, right?
Hmm.
People are sleepy. That means they're not comfortable. The energy, it's to the roof because one, you're driving every single thing you could, whether it's AC, HVAC, etc. I think that combination, to your point, Jason, is unique, right?
Hmm.
Lowering the energy by choosing which color temperature you can do, and then adding comfort into it, and then of course having the data and the visualization to get the predictive maintenance or preventive
Hmm.
maintenance rather to get that visualization to the building. I think it's key.
Aaron, do you you talked a lot about like using your own, facility. Like you have a big investment in real estate in your offices and the showroom that you have. Is that is that kind of like a living lab for you and your team?
It is. It
Yeah.
is. Yeah. I mean, I'm testing a lot of different crazy things. I had a Rife machine in the other day because,
Yeah.
my I mean, we're doing all kinds of crazy things. I do think that someday, um, the idea of uh, a human being better and healthier because they came to a building and
Hmm.
worked there every day would be an amazing value proposition. Um, I think that we can build buildings that will heal people. Um, and I don't think we're too far away from that. Rather than we're kind of hurting people right now. There's a lot of there, there's a lot of conversation in the neuroimmune community about the flicker and the lights,
Hmm.
which has really been something that I've been passionate about too, and it's why digital infrastructure is absolutely important, moving forward. And so there's all kinds of things. I think I got us off track again, Jason. Did I?
Yeah. No, I no, I think you're right on track. Like using your office as a living lab, like you have quantifiable data around productivity and employee comfort that comes out of your space. And I have to imagine that that's like extremely powerful whenever you bring a customer to your showroom as a sales tool.
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
we love having people visit.
Hmm.
Another thing that was interesting that we learned from our data since people came back to the office was you need to have space for people to move.
Hmm.
People want to walk and talk. It's almost like like if you built a walking track inside your office, but you can watch the heat maps and you see back and forth in the
Hmm.
places where nobody is sitting or whatever. So it's really interesting, designing an office for movement that's interactive and fully automated with
Hmm.
AV, etc. I mean, what a dream it would be to be able to work in a place like that. So we're trying to create that uh,
Hmm.
as interactive as possible.
Yeah.
We built a
That's
digital twin a few years ago and put it in the metaverse,
yeah.
and I look forward to bringing them back someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Our Cisco Chicago office. It's in the old post office building in Chicago, and it has these pathfinding lines on painted on the concrete floors. And one of the lines is like this loop around the office. And one of my favorite things to do is like just to have like a walking meeting and do
Yeah.
laps around the office.
That's what I used to do during the pandemic, and we were so healthy then. So then we
Yeah.
all sat down. So,
Yep.
yeah. So being able to move is key.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sit stand desks
Awesome.
are overrated. How about
Yeah.
walking? That's the
Yeah.
first time I
Walk.
heard of this one.
Yeah. Just keep walking. Yeah.
Yes. Or maybe both, like sit stand desk. And I'm a huge proponent of sit stand desk, as AK knows.
Me
Yep.
too.
Yeah. Erin, the other thing you told us is you're also an author. Is that right?
I'm writing a book. I am
Yeah.
writing a book right now. In my journey with my daughter,
Hmm.
um, I had to I had to attend a lot of medical conferences, and I studied genetics for the last 10 years, and then neuroinflammation after that. So I kind of learned a lot about how important it is that we pay attention to neuroinflammation in general. It's the cause of everything from anxiety to depression to uh, diabetes to obesity to autism, everything. And I was really struck a few years ago when I attended the neuroimmune conference where they talked about the first slide said this autism was the root of autism was autoimmune disease. And um, and I and I was struck by that because that means that our environments contribute to these things. In my studies, I just started doing a lot more study about that. And when you look at how the brain responds to our environments and how much load it can take,
Hmm.
I'm going to apply it to smart buildings in a second. It becomes an existential need for humanity to face this need to kind of shift to smart buildings, because without it, um, it our buildings won't be able to protect us from the changing climate or all the stress that the world has around us, whether
Hmm.
it's 98% of our time is spent indoors, and we really need to be able to control our environments in a better way that protects us, whether it be our air quality or our lights. Uh, you know, uh, or mitigation of that sort. All of these things are really important for the future, I think, of humanity, and also for being able to give electricity to other buildings when the power grid goes out. From an existential perspective,
Hmm.
there's a real need to make the change, and just from a perspective of keeping people healthy.
Yeah. And that's awesome that you have a very personal story around air quality and the environments that we're in. So I'm sure that drives you to get up every day and run your company and make buildings better.
Yeah, it gives us a meaning, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
Erin, how people can find Elevated and engage with you and through projects?
Yeah, the website is poweredbyelevated.com. And yeah, you can reach me. And it's Erin at lightingenvironments.com. You can reach out directly to me, and you can find me on the website. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for joining us, Aaron. Everybody out there, definitely find Aaron on LinkedIn as well. Like, she's super active out there. Follow Elevated, and like and subscribe to our show. And we'll see you guys in a few weeks.